The sky burned red over Earth. No one expected the war to start with a smile. Jason Cooper was just a simple engineering student from New Chicago. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a spy. He just liked to help people, and maybe that was his first mistake. It all began the night the sky cracked open. A thunderous roar shook the buildings, and massive alien ships floated down like shadows over the city. People screamed, power went out, and chaos followed. But Jason didn't run. He helped a little girl find her mother. He gave his jacket to an old man. And in one strange moment, he held a heavy door open for someone who didn't look human at all. She was tall, blue skin, eyes like two glowing moons, a body that shimmered in the dark like it was wrapped in violet fire. She looked surprised, almost confused, when Jason smiled and said, "After you." The alien girl tilted her head. She walked through the door slowly. Her hair shimmered like liquid silver, and she gave him a nod that felt royal. She said nothing, but her eyes stayed on him, even as the building trembled from the ships above. Later that night, Earth's defense systems activated. It wasn't just a visit. The aliens known as the Zerani had come with demands. One demand, actually. They were losing females. A plague had hit their home planet decades ago. Most of their population was female, and very few males were left. Now they were looking for genetic partners, not soldiers, not enemies, but strong, gentle, adaptable life forms. In simple words, they wanted to breed. Jason didn't even know what genetic harmony selection meant until a hologram listed him as a primary compatibility candidate. He became famous overnight, not because he was a hero, but because he held a door open. And the alien girl he held it for. She was one of their princesses. They called her Commander Kelia of the royal gene line. She had the power to select one human mate. And she had made her choice in front of the cameras, generals, and leaders from both worlds. She pointed at Jason. This male showed honor in the smallest act. He is worthy. Jason's face turned pale. The media exploded. Military officials argued. Scientists cheered. And Jason? He sat in a room with a translator robot, trying to understand what just happened. She wants to what? He asked. Reproduce. The bot said simply. Immediately. I just held a door. That is why she believes you are a superior genetic match. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Kelia visited him again, this time without cameras. She looked softer in private, curious, even shy. She touched his hand and said, "Your kindness is rare. On our world, only warriors lead, but you serve." Jason blinked. "I'm not a warrior." "You will be," she said, and her eyes glowed brighter. Before he could speak, an explosion rocked the room. Soldiers burst in. Human soldiers. They didn't want peace. They didn't want the aliens choosing their own men, especially not a normal guy like Jason. Suddenly, he wasn't just a choice, he was a threat. "Take him!" Someone shouted. Kelia stepped between Jason and the soldiers, her voice like thunder. "Touch him, and I will burn your city." The men froze, and Jason? He realized the war was no longer just about aliens and Earth. It was about him. Jason could barely breathe. The air was thick with fear, and the guards still pointed weapons at him like he had turned into something dangerous overnight. But he hadn't changed, not really. He was still just a guy who liked to hold doors open, fix broken things, and stay out of trouble. Only now, trouble had picked him. Commander Kelia stood between him and the soldiers, her glowing body shielding his like a living wall of light. The markings on her neck pulsed. Jason didn't know what that meant, but her voice had turned sharp, electric. The human commander, a red-faced man in a tight uniform, lowered his weapon with hesitation. "This man is under Earth command." He barked. "No," Kelia replied. "He is under my selection." Jason didn't understand the customs. But clearly, being chosen by a royal alien female meant something sacred to the Zerani. maybe even permanent. His life wasn't just his anymore. He was part of a treaty. Or maybe a war. Later, in the safety of a silver transport ship, Jason sat quietly across from her. The room hummed softly, the walls glowing like starlight. He felt like he was dreaming. "You didn't have to protect me," he said. "I did." Kellia replied, "Your species speaks of peace, but carries fear in its hands. My people carry power, but we still search for kindness." Jason looked at her face. It was strange and beautiful. Blue skin, soft lips, sharp cheekbones. But it was her eyes that made him pause, like she was always watching something deeper. "You really want to breed?" he asked awkwardly. She tilted her head. "Your word is crude. We seek bond and growth. I do not need your body. I need your soul." Jason almost choked. "My soul?" Kellia smiled. "We are dying, Jason. Our males are gone. But the Council believes our future needs more than strength. We need feeling, thought, balance. You showed me that." Jason rubbed his face. "I just held a door open. And no one else did," she whispered. The ship shook gently. They were flying someplace far from Earth's borders. Jason had no control. But strangely, he didn't feel like a prisoner. Kellia was protective, but not forceful. She gave him space. She watched him carefully, like he was rare dot in her chamber. She offered him food that glowed softly, fruits, liquids, and a cube that tasted like vanilla cake. She sat close but not too close. Then she asked a question he didn't expect. "Have you ever felt alone in your own world?" Jason looked down. "Every day," she nodded slowly. "Then we are not so different." For a moment, silence filled the room. The window beside them showed stars, millions of them, like silent watchers. "In the sky, why me?" Jason asked again. Kellia leaned in, her voice low. "Because you didn't try to impress me. Because you didn't look away. Because I am tired of warriors, and I want something real." Jason didn't know what to say. His hands trembled a little. She noticed and gently placed her fingers over his. They were warm, softer than he expected. Not cold, alien, just alive. But before he could speak, a red alarm echoed through the ship. "Emergency breach," a robotic voice said. "Hostile signal detected." Kellia stood up fast. Her eyes turned sharp, and a violet glow circled her arms. "They followed us," she said. "Your people don't want peace. They want to take you back." Jason's heart pounded. "What are they going to do? Destroy the treaty, end this match, kill you if needed?" Jason swallowed hard. "What do we do now?" Kellia looked at him, her voice calm and fierce. "Now we run, but not like prey, like flame." She held out her hand. Jason took it. And in that moment, he realized something terrifying and beautiful. He was no longer just a man. He was chosen. And now, he was part of something far bigger than himself. The stars outside the window spun like fireflies as the alien ship dodged through a hidden tunnel in deep space. Jason gripped the seat beside him tightly. Kellia stood in front, giving commands in her language, sharp, quick tones filled with power. Around them, the ship pulsed with energy, its lights turning blue, then red, then steady again. Jason had no idea where they were going. He only knew one thing. They were being hunted. Not by monsters. Not by aliens. By humans. His own people wanted him back, not because they missed him, but because they feared what he had become. A selected genetic link, the report said. A symbol of submission, some news channels warned. A risk to Earth's sovereignty, the military declared. But to Kellia, he was something else entirely. "You're shaking," she said. Turning to him after the jump, Jason nodded. "I'm not made for this. I fix machines. I don't run from warships." Kellia's expression softened. "You are stronger than you think. Not all strength is found in weapons. Jason let out a nervous laugh. That sounds nice. Until someone's aiming a missile at your face. She touched his shoulder gently. Your courage lies in peace. That's rare. Jason looked at her again. In the strange light of the ship, she looked less like an alien and more like someone he'd known all his life, someone fierce but searching. Her skin shimmered with tiny pulses like stars underwater. What do you people think of me? He asked quietly. Kellia was silent for a moment. Some hate you, she admitted. They say you are too soft, too ordinary. They say a human should never be matched with royal blood. And you? He asked. She walked closer, slowly. I think the world needs softness. I think hearts like yours are what we lost long ago. Jason's heart raced again, but not with fear. Before he could respond, the ship slowed. The windows dimmed. A massive structure appeared ahead, floating above a dark planet. It looked like a city made of crystal and metal, surrounded by floating rings and energy beams. Kellia turned toward him. Welcome to the cradle. The what? Our sanctuary. Few humans have ever seen it. But now it is your new home. Jason stepped out of the ship and onto a glowing path. Alien lights moved beneath his feet. Giant statues lined the way, warriors, scholars, leaders from Kellia's people. He felt like an ant walking through a temple built for gods. Inside the main chamber, Kellia stood tall and proud. Dozens of aliens watched silently from balconies above. Her voice echoed in the air. This is the one I chose. Not for his strength, not for his blood, but for his heart. Jason swallowed hard. Every eye turned to him. One elder, tall and wrapped in gold, stepped forward. You believe this human will help us restore our line? Kellia nodded. I believe he already has. Jason expected someone to laugh, or shout, or attack, but instead, the elder bowed, and then another did. And another. Jason blinked in disbelief. He wasn't just accepted, he was honored, but before he could take it. Alarms blared again. An assistant ran forward, her skin glowing with panic. Earthships have followed. They found the cradle. Kellia turned to Jason. They would destroy everything, just to control one life. Jason stood tall. His hands still trembled, but this time he didn't step back. Then let's show them, he said. Why kindness should never be mistaken for weakness. Kellia's smile returned, and this time, it wasn't royal. It was real. Jason never imagined he would be asked to speak for an entire species. But here he stood, inside the crystal halls of the cradle, while Earth's warships hovered outside like hungry sharks in the dark. The alien city was silent, except for the soft hum of energy shielding it. He could feel the tension in the air. One wrong move, one wrong word, and both sides could start a war that no one would survive. Kellia placed her hand gently on Jason's arm. You don't have to face them alone. He looked at her, unsure. But I'm not a leader. You are, she said calmly, to them. To me, because you chose peace when you had nothing to gain. Jason stepped toward the communication sphere. His voice would be broadcast to the fleet outside, military generals, world leaders, even millions of viewers across Earth, watching in fear and anger. He breathed in, then spoke. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a politician. I never planned for this. I was just a guy who opened a door for someone who looked lost. I didn't know she was a commander, or a princess, or an alien. I just saw someone who needed kindness. And I did what any decent person should do. Silence followed. Then Earth's ambassador replied, cold and sharp. You've been manipulated. This selection is a trap. Jason didn't flinch. If this is a trap, then why does it feel more human than anything I've seen on Earth lately? The ambassador tried again. Return now, and you won't be harmed. We can protect you. Jason glanced at Kellia, then at the alien crowd behind him. I don't need protection. I need understanding. And so do you. The line went dead. Kelly looked toward the window. Earth's fleet hadn't fired, but they hadn't left either. That night, Jason sat alone in his new quarters. The room was peaceful, filled with floating lights that danced like small stars. But inside he felt torn. Half of him still belonged to Earth, the food, the music, the memories of his little apartment back home. But the other half now belonged to something deeper. To her. He turned when the door opened. Kelly entered, wearing a soft robe that shimmered with silver threads. She wasn't a commander now, not a leader. Just someone who looked tired, and maybe a little scared. "Do you regret coming here?" she asked quietly. Jason shook his head. "No, but I'm afraid." "Of me?" "No," he said quickly. "Of losing myself. Of not knowing where I belong anymore." She walked closer. "You belong where your heart chooses, Jason." He looked into her glowing eyes. "And if it chose you?" Kelly hesitated. Then she stepped even closer, gently taking his hand. "Then you would not be alone." Jason's heart thudded. He had no idea what love felt like between species. But whatever was growing between them, it was real. Suddenly, a sharp alarm shattered. The quiet, breach detected. "Internal sabotage," the voice rang out. Kelly's eyes narrowed. "They've come inside." Before Jason could react, the walls slid open to reveal a group of masked intruders. They weren't Zerani. They weren't Earth soldiers either. They were something in between humans dressed in stolen alien gear. "Take the human," one growled. "Kill the match." Kelly moved faster than Jason had ever seen. Her body lit up with violet energy. She threw one attacker across the room with a single motion, but she was outnumbered. Jason grabbed a metal rod from the floor. His body shook, but he stepped forward anyway. "Get away from her," he fought. Not well, but with everything he had. And in that moment, Kelly saw it, the same kindness, the same courage, the same fire. He wasn't just her match. He was her equal. They stood back to back, defending each other. Two lives. Two worlds. One connection. Jason's arms trembled as the last masked intruder fell to the ground, unconscious. The room was filled with smoke and sparks. Lights flickered. Kelly stood beside him, bruised but strong, her violet aura slowly fading. She looked at Jason with something new in her eyes, not just admiration. It was awe. "You fought without training," she whispered. "You risked your life for mine." Jason leaned against the wall, panting. "I thought I was supposed to be the soft one." Kelly smiled faintly. "Softness isn't weakness. You taught me that." Outside the chamber, the cradle had gone into full lockdown. Alien defenders, some shaped like tall shadows, others like armored sculptures, stood at every hall. Jason was guided quickly through a hidden tunnel beneath the palace. Kelly led the way, her hand never leaving his. "What just happened?" he asked. "Not everyone on Earth agrees with peace," she replied. "And not everyone here supports our bond." That was a strike. Not just on us, but on the idea of unity. Jason felt cold. "So they'd rather destroy the hope than accept it?" "Yes," Kelly said softly. "Because hope terrifies those who only understand control." They arrived in a chamber made entirely of glowing water. Floating symbols shimmered in the air, pulsing in soft blue. Kelly touched one, and a hidden wall opened, revealing a platform above the stars. "This is the Heartlight," she said. "Every royal pair must stand here before their bond is complete." Jason hesitated. "So, this is like a wedding?" Kelly tilted her head. "In a way. It connects us in body and thought. If you agree, our energies will merge." Jason blinked. "That sounds intense." Kelly stepped closer. "You don't have to say yes." But then she looked down. Just for a second, and he saw it. Fear. Out of war. Not of betrayal, but of rejection. Jason reached for her hand. "I don't know much about merging energies, but I know I trust you. And I'm not going to run." She smiled, but her eyes glistened. Then stepped forward. They moved onto the Heartlight platform. Lights rose around them, forming a soft dome. Symbols danced in the air. A gentle wind swept around them, though they were far from any world. Kalia spoke first in her language. It sounded like music made of stars. Then she looked at Jason. He didn't know the words, but he knew the feeling. I'm not perfect, he said, but I'm here, and whatever this is, I'm ready. Their hands met. And suddenly, Jason saw it all. Her childhood, her losses, her victories, her loneliness, her hope. And she saw him, every laugh, every tear, every small kindness that shaped his heart. They stood locked in a connection deeper than anything he imagined. The dome glowed brighter. Their shadows stretched and overlapped. And in that moment, something inside Jason changed. His body lit with soft white energy. Not like Kalia's violet glow. This was something new. Balanced. Human. And something more. Kalia gasped. You're not just compatible. You're the bridge. Jason blinked. What does that mean? It means you don't just link with me. You link with everything. Before she could explain further, a deafening boom echoed through the sky. The cradle shook violently. A massive earth warship had broken through the outer barrier. Jason looked up and saw it, a black, jagged beast, armed with plasma cannons and guided by fear. They're going to destroy the Heartlight, Kalia whispered. Jason looked at her. Then let's show them why they shouldn't. The Heartlight cracked beneath Jason's feet as the alien platform shook with the force of the enemy's attack. Above them, Earth's warship fired another round blazing blue plasma, tearing through the upper dome of the cradle. Dust fell from the ceiling like snow. The stars were no longer beautiful, they were on fire. Kalia's grip tightened around Jason's hand. We have to evacuate. If the core collapses, the whole cradle will fall. But Jason didn't move. Something inside him pulsed, something new. A warmth in his chest, steady like a heartbeat, but brighter, deeper. The connection from the Heartlight wasn't fading. It was growing. No, he said, almost in a whisper. We don't run. Not this time. Kalia turned to him, confused. Jason raised his other hand, and a soft white glow rose from his skin. He wasn't doing it on purpose, it just responded to his fear. His courage. His need to protect. The light rose higher, forming lines of energy between him and the platform. Between him and her. Between him and something much bigger, something ancient, sleeping within the Heartlight. Kalia gasped. The cradle's core. It's waking up. Jason stepped forward, his body glowing brighter. You said I was the bridge, so let me be one. She tried to stop him. It could destroy you. He looked at her gently. Then let it destroy what I was, not what I meant to be. Jason touched the center of the HEART, and the universe exploded in silence. There was no pain. Only light. Memories. Voices. Not. Just from Kalia, from her ancestors, from Earth. From all the lives broken by war, waiting for a single heart brave enough to bring peace. Jason saw it all. Every soldier who had died. Every mother who had lost. Every child who had grown up angry. And somewhere deep in that ocean of sorrow, he dropped something small. A seed. Kindness. It spread fast. The Heartlight burst open with white and violet beams. The cradle's towers lit up like a second sun. The enemy warship above froze in mid-fire. Its weapons powered down. Its shields dropped. Not by force. But by emotion. The crew Earth soldiers fell silent. Some wept. Some dropped their weapons. Because what they saw in the sky wasn't a weapon. It was hope. Jason stood at the center of it, glowing like a star. Kalia stood beside him, her aura now mixed with his. White and violet, two worlds, one pulse. The Heartlight had accepted them, not as ruler and match, but as bondmates. As unity. Later, when the fire died and the skies cleared, The leaders of Earth finally responded, not with threats, but with apologies. The ship retreated. A new treaty was signed, one not written in ink or on screens, but in hearts. Jason stood beside Kelia during the ceremony, wearing a long robe given to only one being in Zerani history, a human chosen by both worlds. They called him the Gentle Flame, because he burned without hate, because he led without violence. Because he changed everything. By simply holding a door open, Jason didn't become a hero by fighting. He became one by choosing love over fear. And Kelia, the warrior who had seen too much pain, finally found peace in the arms of the only soul who never tried to conquer her, only to understand her. And so the war ended, not with a bang, but with a bond.